What exactly is trusted investing?
Trusted investing is a passive way to make your money work for you. Is the simplest way to look at it. You're essentially letting someone else borrow money, and they're going to pay you payments on that money. And when the loan pays off, you get your entire principal back. Think of it like dividends on steroids. People who obsess over dividend stocks because they get those dividends paid out. Trusted investing, you get monthly payments. You get a check each month from the borrower when they make that payment, and you're earning that money. It's regular income that comes into your bank account.
So for listeners who are new to this idea, what exactly is trusted investing?
Yeah, so the easiest way to think about it, if you are a trusted investor, consider yourself like a bank. So if someone wants to go buy a house, they're going to go to the bank and they're going to say, I want to get a mortgage to buy a home. And then when you buy that home, that mortgage goes on the property and you make payments to that bank. Similar to trusted investing, think of yourself as the bank. So what happens is, so I'll use us as an example, Valkyrie Investments. We're what you consider a private money lender. So someone comes to us and they say, hey, I want to borrow some cash to buy a property, like a rental, or I need cash out of my property to inject capital into my business, things like that. We say, okay, your property is worth, say, $1 million. We'll lend you $500,000 or $600,000 of that. And then what happens is we drop the loan documents, we prep the terms, we get an appraisal on the property, we vet the deal, and then we put it out to our investors. And our investors will actually lend that money. So it might be one person who invests the entire loan of $500,000 or $600,000. It could also be, 10 different people at 10% each type thing, as far as ownership goes. And then that money is then given to the borrower. That borrower then makes payments to us as the servicing agent, and then we give those funds to our investors. Typical returns are anywhere from 9 to 12 or 13%, depending on the deal. And there's benefits on both sides. And so our rates are going to be higher. And so the investors will realize those rates because rather than looking at the borrower and saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tiers of tax returns or bank statements, things like that, we're looking at the equity in the property. We're saying, does this loan make sense? Is it, does it have common sense underwriting, as I like to say? If you're borrowing $500,000 on a property worth $1 million, odds are it's a pretty safe investment. I don't want to use the word safe because nothing, no investment is ever perfectly safe. But at the end of the day, that's the way a lot of people will look at it. And then essentially we act as the middleman, collecting the payments, paying them to the investor until that loan pays off.
Thank you. That was a detailed explanation. But if you would explain this in the simplest way to the audience, how, let's say as if you're explaining this to a 10-year-old kid, how would you say what is trusted investing?
Trusted investing is a passive way to make your money work for you, is the simplest way to look at it. You're essentially letting someone else borrow money, and they're going to pay you payments on that money. And when the loan pays off, you get your entire principal back.
So there's borrowers, there's lenders, and there's you guys.
Correct.
And who is providing the real estate as a backup to the loan? Is the borrower or?
Yeah. So when it comes to the real estate itself, it's the borrower that owns it. So the borrower. That is the collateral, right? So if we're going to give someone a loan, we're going to say you need collateral in order to get that loan. And then when we have our investor is providing the capital in order to fund that loan. We do it sometimes depending on the deal, but for the most part, all of our loans are sold off to private investors who are then funding those loans and then retaining that interest essentially.
Sure. And is Valkyrie's investment kind of like a go between the borrower and the lender, making sure that both parties are legit?
Correct. Yeah.
I
So
see.
we have our investors. We have a database of a couple thousand private investors, individuals like you and like me, not huge companies that are funding all these deals like a bank, but individuals with self-directed retirement accounts, with cash accounts, with family trust money, things like that.
Yeah.
And they're looking to diversify. They already have money in the stock market. They already have money in real estate. This is kind of another way for them by buying what you call trust deeds or notes on properties. You can get that extra passive income and diversify your portfolio even more.
And I think so. Real estate is involved in this process. Why is real estate? Why isn't other kind of investment to back up the loan?
Well, I mean, trust deed is a function, is an instrument of getting a loan on a property. It's what gets recorded on title to show that loan has been given to that borrower and secured by that property itself.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think real estate is one of the
safest.
Yeah, I mean, I would never say safe in investments, but in my opinion, it's one of the better, I would say, securities for your investment. And there's all sorts of loans you can do, and out there as far as investments go. You can invest money in the stock market. You can invest money in unsecured liens, all sorts of different stuff. And specifically, though, our niche at Valkyrie Investments is a real estate-based lending platform.
So from the borrower's perspective, how is it different? How is trusted investing different than traditional banking?
Yeah. Typically, it's quicker but more expensive. And when borrower is looking at getting a private money loan, it's usually for speed. It's usually because they need the money now to buy a rental, whether it's a short sale or they are an investor and they just want to buy, and they're buying multiple properties. So this way they can buy it quickly. But they're looking to close fast, and they're using the equity in the property as the collateral rather than dealing with tiers, tax returns, bank statements, all that kind of stuff that a bank would typically need. Yeah. So they're looking for quick cash for the most part.
So they're like time sensitive, right?
Very time sensitive, yeah. Most private money deals or hard money loans close within about 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Versus a bank, like I said, is 60 to 90.
So what is the trade-off if the borrower choose to borrow money from trusted investing instead of traditional banking?
Right. So, sorry, the reason I say that is you would say getting a traditional loan from a bank or getting a hard money loan.
Get a traditional loan from the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if you're getting a traditional loan from a bank versus going and getting like a hard money loan or a private money loan, as they call it sometimes too, you're really getting a higher interest rate with private money, but you're getting the money much faster. You're not having to offer as much documentation, and you're using the collateral in the property rather than looking at really your personal finances, right? Like you're not saying, here's my income and tax returns. You're saying, I have a property. I only need half of what it's worth. It makes sense on paper. There's plenty of collateral there. And then that's kind of what we're looking at. So the trade-off really for them is it's quicker money, but it's more expensive. Less requirements, but it's more expensive. And so that's the way they kind of look at it is, okay, yeah, I need this money fast. I want it quickly because I'm going to make money down the line, whether it's, injecting capital in their business or if it's buying a rental property that they'll make money on later. To them, it makes sense for that trade-off because they're going to make far more than they will on the more expensive money that they're borrowing essentially in this situation.
So I would say trusted investing is more efficient, but it can be more expensive.
Yeah, for the borrower, it's more efficient, but it's more expensive. It's typically a shorter term solution to whatever it is. So like I said, I think our average payoff on a loan is roughly 18 months. That's how long the borrower is going to have it. In that time period, they're usually refinancing, they're selling the property, they're doing whatever they need to do to pay the thing off. Our terms are usually about 3 years long, so it's not a long-term solution. They call them short-term financing or bridge loans, and it's typically for those short-term solutions.
And how much interest the borrower is paying on average?
Yeah, it's anywhere between I think our rates start right now around 8.5%, all the way up to 12-13%, depending on the deal.
Depending on the deal.
Yeah. Gotcha. I mean, it drastically changes depending on the loan to value they're borrowing at, or the parameters of the deal itself, and also the collateral type, whether it's commercial, residential, land, things like that.
Got you. And now from the investor's perspective, how is trusted investing different than traditional investment? Like, for example, SP 500 index fund, it is passive as well, right? How is trusted investing different than those kind of tradition, investment? Yeah,
so I mean, the market can fluctuate, right? And there's not much collateral there, in my opinion. If you invest in the market, then it swings up and down depending on.
It's so volatile.
It's very volatile. It could be great, and don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone has money in the market. This isn't to replace that, and this isn't something that I ever recommend to replace traditional investing. This is essentially another avenue to invest in. You diversify. That's what you do. And if you diversify properly, that means you have your money in different areas. And I think trusted investing is a solid choice to diversify an investment portfolio. I would never recommend putting all your money into one investment vehicle.
One basket.
No. Yeah, never do that. And so this wouldn't replace it. This would benefit from everything. And the difference is going to be that monthly passive income. Think of it like dividends on steroids. People who obsess over dividend stocks because they get those dividends paid out. Trusted investing, you get monthly payments. You get a check each month from the borrower when they make that payment, and you're earning that money. It's regular income that comes into your bank account. So if you invest for round numbers, $1 million at 12%, you're getting $10,000 a month on your money. Your $1 million is still sitting there.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and and then when the loan pays off, you get that money back.
Yeah. Wow. So what is the historical average return on the investor side so far?
I mean, as far as historical return, it's hard to say because every deal is so different. But I would say on average, if you had to pick,